welcome everyone to our Spring 2022 series of OTF Connect webinars entitled Teacher Efficacy and Student Engagement. My name is Peter Beans and I'm honored to be your moderator for today's session entitled Getting GIPHY. Before we begin, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge we are gathered in the traditional territories of various Indigenous peoples, and we further recognize our duty to support the achievement of the calls to actions stemming from the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome Tina Zita. Tina is currently a teacher librarian at Aylesbury Public School in the Peel District School Board. Previously, she was a modern learning resource teacher with Peel. Tina has also taught AQ courses on primary, junior, teacher leadership, and technology. She describes herself as a picture book addicted techie teacher, passionate about competent and curious learners. She's also an admitted chocoholic. So let's turn it over to Tina. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here tonight and to play together. We're going to be playing and creating, hopefully, as the night goes on. But I'm just going to get my slides up on screen as we get started. While I get my slides up on screen, if you just want to say hi in the chat and tell us where you're joining us from, that would be amazing. Just drop your name. If you want to get really fancy, you can drop a GIF in there, but just love to see who's here today.
Hi, Diana. Annabelle.
Diana. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. So tonight's all about GIFs. We'll get a chance in a couple minutes to dive in even more. Welcome, Christina, Kathy, Chinello. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. I feel like I'm always asking for the hints like the kids at work. I love when they break it down. Cyril, welcome, welcome. Lots of friends that we've hung out with before. That's awesome. I've never actually made it to Paris, Ontario. That has to be on my bucket list, I think, one of these days. So cool to see people from all across the province. Fantastic. So super excited, and I hope it's okay. I'm going to build on the land acknowledgement as well. Right now, I'm joining you from my school, Aylesbury Public School, and we're on lands covered by Treaty 19 with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. But I live in Toronto on land that's covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas as well, and just has all of these really cool reminders. I live close to the Humber River, which is a daily reminder of those that walked the land before. But we've also had this cool graffiti artist that has been tagging our area for many years now. So one day I will find out who it is, but it's been an interesting learning experience just to have those visual reminders as we walk the land. So something for me to reflect upon. So today, we are going to talk all things GIFs. So when I was thinking about how I could share a bit about me, I thought I would maybe share my reset GIF as I mess up how to say it. I love visuals. I love photography. I know some of our friends here know that about me already. And for me, I'm constantly playing and exploring just what are some of those different ways we can capture student understanding and student learning. How can we communicate through these visual mediums that we're using in our social lives all the time? So like Peter said, right now I'm a teacher librarian and we get to play with these ideas. You'll actually see some of the GIFs our friends have created over the last little while. But in my past life, I was a modern learning resource teacher, and any opportunity I get to kind of play with these visual mediums gets me super excited. But before we start, thanks for all those introductions. Really love that. We want to ask you a couple questions just so we can get a sense of who's in the room. So I'm going to switch over to Mentimeter and I'll drop the link in the chat as well. But if you're more comfortable using the Menti code on the screen, you can do that. Again, if you've never used Menti before, just click on the link in the chat. It will bring you up to a screen where you can vote and tell us your answers. So we're starting with a little check-in. We do these every Wednesday at my school in our morning announcements. And we've started to use GIFs as a fun way to kind of set the tone. So this is just a weather check-in. If you had to choose weather that represents your day today, how do you feel you're feeling? I'm loving the sunshine. So sunshine would maybe be it, but the brain is also a little foggy today. So I feel cloudy might be the right choice for me. A lot of sunshines. Snow. And I think we'll talk a little bit about GIFs in our lives and where they pop up. But I think there's so many places that GIFs are already a part of our everyday conversation. It's kind of cool to see how can we incorporate them into our classroom practices as we head forward. All right, we're going to give you 1 or 2 more minutes to vote. Just trying to see how many people we have under. So 39, and we have 24 votes. So we'll give folks a minute or two just in case you're still joining. Again, if it's easier, in the chat, there's a little Menti link. Tonight we are going to be creating, so if you want to grab another device that you have handy, or if you are okay with 2 views on your screen, that works too. All right, I'm loving all the sunshine. I know the sunshine changes my feelings in the day. The next questions will be the next question's a bit easier. Our last question maybe is the most taxing of the day. Okay, we're going to go to the next question if that's all right. I know people may still be joining us, and that's okay as well. Just want to get a sense of what you teach. You can put multiple topics in. Maybe it's what you're most passionate about if you're teaching many subjects or many different pathways. Maybe it's a grade level. Maybe it's a subject area. Just what is kind of your focus? Welcome, Angela. Awesome.
So for us?
Oh, no, it's the same link. If you are on Mentimeter, it should just pop up. You should get right to that second question. But you can drop it into the chat too if you feel more comfortable with that. We have kindergarten, we have grade 1, grade 7, 8, awesome. In our word cloud, we're seeing a lot of elementary and primary. Love the teacher librarian K to 8. That's my role. Very cool. Consultant, fantastic. Yeah, no problem. Sorry, Angela. There you go. Very cool. So it looks like we have a bit of everything. Grade 8, applied level, academic levels. And that's the cool part of tonight. We're going to explore a bit of a couple different options or ideas, but at the end, we're going to also take some time to just pause and brainstorm what could work for your practice. Because I think that's often some of the pieces that we miss. Computer science, cool. The other cool thing is we all are just playing, right? So the opportunity to talk with educators from across the province means we get to brainstorm ideas that I probably would have never thought of, which is always the bonus of doing sessions like this. So in the chat, we have more kindergarten, JK to 8, awesome. Very cool. Okay. So we'll give friends just a minute. I'm going to drop the link in just one more time in case people have just joined and they didn't get the link the first time. So our last question, we are going to be looking just at your comfort level. So maybe you're already using photography or you're doing notice and wonders with visuals in the classroom, and you feel like you're a pro. So you're going to have a little slider where you can leave it at the nope side or at the I love it side or anywhere you feel you fit on that continuum. So if you've used GIFs already, you can figure out where you want to put yourself. If you've created them, maybe you've used them but haven't created them yet, or vice versa. So you can just take that little slider and put it where you feel you fit. We'll give you again a couple minutes to do that. Awesome. And I think it's kind of interesting to see using visuals and creating visuals, being a little more, having a little more comfort in that area, because I did play with photography first. This is definitely an evolution. As I was playing with photography myself, I started playing with GIFs, and then I started playing with what they could look like in class. So I think that photography is a great place to start. Or we recently had some friends creating their own unlearned style posters in Keynote, just using shapes or Google Slides, whatever slide tools you have access to. There's so many different pieces we can kind of tap into when it comes to visual formats. But I love, especially for our FSL colleagues, I love that we can, a lot of times when we look at creating these tools, we're not dependent on language elements. So students can bring in the language that works for them. Same piece for our English language learners, or just students that learn in different formats. All right, so it does look like a few friends have tried creating GIFs before. If you want to let us know in the chat what tools you've used before, that would be awesome. You don't have to, never required, but you could let us know that. One last 30 seconds if you want to get your answers in before we go back to our slide deck for today. Okay. So, Photoshop. Let's see, there's probably going to be people that will show me new things I have never even explored before. I've done one GIF in Procreate, but it always slightly intimidates me. So I go back to my the tools I'm comfortable with. But again, as we're going through tonight, we'd love for you to keep bringing those ideas into the chat. If you have suggestions, add them in. I know, especially when we're talking about creating, there's so many different tools and so many different possibilities and ideas I haven't thought of yet. So having that opportunity is great. Yeah, Adobe Creative Cloud, formerly Adobe Spark, is a great tool. The other one that we've been playing with our Digital Creator Club here at Aylesbury is Canva. Canva added a GIF option as well. So if you're a Canva creator and you're looking for something kind of to level up with your kids or to add them that little extra bit, Canva is a great tool to tap into. ScreenToGIF, I haven't used that before, so we'll have to tap into that. Snapseed, Google Drawing, Google Slides, Canva, awesome. So there's so many tools to tap into when we talk about GIF creation, and I'm going to just share some of my favorites. We're going to play with one in particular. I'm going to show you a second one that you can jump in on if you want, or if you're deep in thought with the other, that's okay as well. We want to start though by chatting a little bit about GIFs, what they are, making sure we all have a common understanding. Again, if you want to add to the discussion at any time, feel free to drop it into the chat, or if you feel comfortable and you want to raise your hand at school as well. We're going to take a good chunk of time just to create, because I feel when we do these digital workshops, we often can talk about what it could look like, but our ideas for how it can work in our practice, our comfort level, understanding how it works really comes from playing. So we're going to take a big chunk of time tonight just so we can all create GIFs. And then we're going to take some time at the very end of the evening to just pause for a few seconds, brainstorm, and see how can we, what can we do in our practice? And some of you look like you have a lot of great experience already that you can kind of tap into and wisdom to share with us. And yes, I just saw that today that the creator of the GIF recently passed. So I was looking at his clip today. Cool. So let's jump in. You may have seen GIFs, maybe just before we get started. Where was the last time you saw a GIF? GIFs are just, like we said, those moving pictures. They kind of are looping. One of the places I see them the most, or I use them the most, um, is just in Twitter. And it was cool in just reading some of the different articles about GIFs, how they talked about GIFs coming out of that need of finding a way to communicate our feelings when we're in a very text-based environment, right? When we're texting our friends. I know on mine, I often can pull in a GIF just to kind of get make sure that my feeling is um, coming across, to bring in that sarcasm, or to make sure that they know I'm joking, which may not come across in text. So we're seeing that as well in text all the time. Yeah, for sure. On social media, on Instagram. And so we see sometimes GIFs, and then we see those GIF stickers. I knew it would come up. I knew it would come up. Um, we need to make a GIF of the Lady Gaga Liza Minnelli moment. Change the story there a bit about
So,
that whole moment. But yes, when I went to GIPHY over the last couple days to prepare, every single time it's up there on the top. Logos or graphics, yeah. And I think that's the other piece. Like, I think the more we explore, the more we see them popping up in different areas that maybe we didn't even notice what they were before. So just to help us get started, we want to kind of have a solid understanding of what a GIF is. And again, feel free to add in. It seems like we have some experts in the group, and that's awesome. So first thing is, if you're wondering, it's pronounced GIF, not GIF. This was actually a quote in many different places, but it doesn't matter. Really, all it means is that it's a graphics interchange format. Now, I'm not big on remembering what things stand for, but I think the key there is to remember that it's a graphics. So a lot of times when we're on social media, like Instagram, or even Twitter, or on our Facebook stories or reels, we'll see videos, short videos, and there's still a video format, but GIFs actually are an image file. So instead of it just holding one picture, it holds many pictures, and it just keeps flipping through those pictures as we go along. But the cool part about it being a graphic is that we can put it places where we could put pictures. So I can go to a Jamboard and drop a bunch of GIFs onto my Jamboard where I can't use videos in a Jamboard to support. I could put a quick little image on my Google slide deck or in my website to help students navigate. So they really can fit anywhere we could fit a picture, which is really amazing. Sometimes they do have sound, but for the most part, you don't see sound. And for me, I always thought there was a limit to the length, because when you look at a GIF, they're usually rotating. I'd say every 2-3 seconds, they're flipping through the picture set again. So the shortcut app on an iPhone usually lets you take 4 or 5 pictures that it flips through, or a short couple seconds of a video clip. But that's actually not a requirement. It's just if you were going to put that many frames together, it makes sense to use a different format when you're sharing. And really, it's just a way to help express and communicate efficiently, which is kind of cool. So when we look at something like my friends, we were looking at messages around healthy eating, and they were exploring different formats. We were able to quickly create something fun and interesting to go along with their message in the tool we're going to explore tonight. Now, like I said, to me, a lot of the creative stuff I try with kids, and creative sounds weird. I never want to name myself as creative. It feels always intimidating. I don't know if you feel the same way, but the minute something somebody says creative, you feel like you have to have like an art piece or something fancy. And really in the end, it's just, I like to play. So I love to play with photography. Every year I do this 100-day project. This year we're doing 100 bookish days. And a couple of years ago, I was doing some food photography. And to be honest, it was getting boring over a little while. So I just started playing, and I was trying to see how I could take that picture and turn it into a quick GIF. Those that know me well know I have a problem with Coca-Cola. And it was just a really fun way of taking something I was already exploring and taking all of that learning and now seeing how I could bring movement into that. So taking pictures when the parents are visiting and seeing how we can take those 5, 6 pictures when I was being the paparazzi and now turning it into something that actually moves and communicates much more about the moment than just that one frame that we would post. And a lot of times playing in my own social life then can come back to the classroom. So this year I've been playing a lot with the idea of how can I communicate concepts. So we've done a lot of different GIFs just in exploring how we can communicate an idea, using it as a provocation or as a prompt as kids are getting started, but also just exploring how-tos in technology, if you will, or exploring a quick moment. Because again, I can share the link, or I could take a really long time to make a how-to video, but sometimes people just need a quick little moment, a little snapshot. So recently in an AQ course, we were just sharing the Coolers website. So instead of me just sharing the app, I really wanted them to know that they could personalize the color scheme and that they could check for accessibility. So really quickly with the GIF capture tool from GIPHY, I was able to just record my screen for those 13 seconds and be able to share that. The other thing we started playing with was ideas around how could I share prompts or provocations. Again, sometimes we'll create long videos for kids online, and I don't know if they always watch the whole video. We know their attention spans are shorter. They're getting so much information online, and sometimes they don't know when to pause videos for that one moment, that one teaching point. So this year when we were doing books and bites, which is a challenge we do every year around matching books with coding, we were trying to code a soundscape, and I just wanted to break it down into quick snippets. So again, using the GIPHY capture, we could just create that quick GIF of each step and break it down. So now we had a procedure that had these quick visuals connected to it. Taking away that length of a video and just, again, grouping it and chunking it to something that's more accessible. For me, I think
what was that website you had in the top right corner with the color theme?
It's called Coolers. I'll put it into the chat.
That's not the old Adobe Cooler, Kuler. Something different?
I don't think so. So this is a dude in, I want to say Italy, but I could be wrong. And it just lets you create your own color schemes. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he just upgraded. Oh, somebody's going to ask for my Scratch account, and now I can't remember what it is. I think it's Miss Zita, hopefully. So Coolers, just beautiful. So I'm a junkie for things design, just love it. I get too much, I get too excited designing things. And so when we're designing websites for different board pieces, even for our schools, so our digital creators, we have a Coolers color set for the kids so they know the school colors. Yeah, it just lets you create a category of colors. And I love the accessibility feature because it could look like colors have huge contrast to me, but they let you go through 6 or 7 different color impairments so you can see that contrast and what that looks like. So it's pretty cool.
I'll drop in the Adobe one. It's kind of similar.
Cool. Yeah. And yeah, my coding adventures aren't fantastic, but Elizabeth, if you remind me at the end, we did do last year we did a little inquiry about coding and games with kids in the school. So we have a little arcade website we set up with some different features that may be helpful if you're wanting to get into coding or you're wanting to explore a bit more. The games was a big hit. But Soundscapes has been fun too. And we're just gonna, I think for me, the big power of GIFs though came from our book club last year. So last year we were reading this book is Anti-Racist. I don't know if friends have read that book already by this book. Maybe you can let us know in the chat if, especially the 7s and 8s. So we did it with our 7s and 8s, our intermediate 6, 7, 8s, I should say. So it's a book by Tiffany Jewell, but it's an illustrated book, and Aurelia Durant illustrated it. So she's a great illustrator from France. Yeah, fantastic for grade 9, 10. To be honest, it's a fantastic book even for adults. If you're looking for a great read that just gives you a wholesome understanding, and the book walks you through reflective activities. So as we did it as a book club, we really found visual formats were a great way to get into some of the terminology that was really hard to understand. So we were using a lot of images, some great data visualizations from people like Mona Chalabi or Giorgia Lupi, and just exploring some of those elements. But what was cool was Aurelia Durand has a whole series that is connected to the book. So she has a whole series on her GIPHY account around diversity. And so we use those as provocations for us to create our own summary of the book. And I think that was when I realized just the power of getting students to summarize something in a visual format, because we had been having conversations about a lot of the terminology, but you don't really realize how much they understand it till they have a chance to take that learning and consolidate it in a 2-3 second animation. There's no chance for them to copy any of the pieces. It really gets them straight in. And I think that to me is kind of why I love getting kids to create GIFs in the classroom. I think it's that chance for them to create. And when we talk about engagement, I don't know about folks here, but I found any chance that kids get to play or to create has really gotten us to a new level of engagement this year. That chance for them to apply, they can't really just copy what we said. It's not Google copying and pasting. Maybe nobody else has that problem. But I think especially when we've been stuck to a keyboard for so long, it's just so stressful for kids to sometimes understand why we're asking them to say something in a different way. Just trying to get them to consolidate or summarize. And when we ask them to create a GIF, it just happens naturally. Our grade 4 class was working on sustainability messages. And it was just so cool to see things that they were really connected to: pollution, eating locally, conserving water, and seeing them bring those into their GIFs and naturally knowing that they had a message they wanted to communicate. So it just brought them to that application stage and communication stage so much quicker. And the last one, and this is me being completely honest in front of everybody now that I realize it's being recorded, but I think that other piece is really just the idea of it being quick. I find, especially right now, as we're just coming back to settle in and we have so much to cover and so many things changing all the time, sometimes those bigger projects are hard. We tried to do some podcasting, and sometimes that being able to have that persistence with a longer project is a little bit harder, where something like a GIF is a quicker, smaller project we can tackle in a day and 2 days. If students want to do something really quick, they can. If other kids want to go home and continue with it, especially when we have web-based tools, there's so much we can kind of tap into and work with. So if you've done GIFs, you can let us know in the chat what you found, why they were helpful, maybe ways that you've used them. I know we had a couple folks using them. Even if you're just collecting GIFs from online, how have you used them in your practice so far? I know we had a couple of folks, so if you want to drop those ideas in, if you have any other questions before we keep going, just wanted to do that check-in right now before we move ahead. And yes, there is a journal for this book is anti-racist. And for the younger friends in the group, this fall is going to be the primary elementary version of this book is anti-racist is coming out. And there's also one about this book is feminist, the intersectionality book. So, oh, cool, Tammy. That's a cool idea. That's it. There's so many ways. I know I've seen really cool uses of GIFs as book reviews, kind of getting a collection of GIFs that somebody may be sending out. Great use of it in French. And I think they're just so expressive that there's so many pieces that people can kind of layer in with a GIF that maybe they don't have the vocabulary for just yet. Okay, You can keep adding your ideas in the chat as we go along. But what we want to kind of focus on for the next little bit in our time together is looking at some tools and exploring and creating together. So I just use them to make my slides more visually appealing. Definitely, I've been loving them for the slideshows because I feel there's just that extra bit of movement that kind of attracts them in for sure, just to make those important points. Such a great point, Christina. Oh, cool, Elizabeth. Using them when I text with a family relative who is nonverbal. How awesome is that? I hadn't even thought of it for accessibility. And I think that's a piece as we look at how our world's changing. And I know a lot of us, especially the teacher librarians in the group, have conversations about the many literacies and visual literacy. We're just so immersed in a visual environment. It's so cool to be able to tap into those pieces for all learners. And just, I think I always find when we're creating, especially visual mediums, sometimes the kids that really are shining are students we haven't seen in those traditional formats, which is always exciting. Illustrating math concepts, so cool. That's a great way of using it as well. So what we want to do tonight is we want to build your toolbox. Again, these are just 2 tools I use. It looks like some folks have great other tools that they've added to the chat. And maybe we'll add another page to the Jamboard if you want to drop some of those tools or ideas in for folks. Later tonight at the end, I'm going to show some of those other tools, some other tools for the toolbox, but we're going to focus the next little while just on 2 in particular that I've really enjoyed. So I don't want this to be, I don't want to bore you with my ideas. So we'll try to keep it paced based on your feedback in the chat. So just jump in, let us know. The one that I thought I would start off with is just BrushNinja. There's a couple of reasons for BrushNinja. It's just been such a huge success for us as a school, but also for colleagues, especially when we have access to so many different types of technology. I don't know if you're in the same predicament. So much tech has gone out or come back in. We have iPads, we have some Chromebooks, we have some older devices, we have some newer devices, we have kids bringing in devices. And sometimes finding a tool or an app that you can kind of tap into that everybody can tap into is hard. Maybe you're teaching online and you're trying to do things with kids at home or providing ideas for families. Maybe you just are looking for something web-based that you could create with. So BrushNinja was one of those apps I stumbled upon from a friend. She had been using it with her students for art, which you'll see in the Wakelet later. And it's just been a huge tool for us to do things. This was just recently, with a grade 5 class, we've been exploring artivism. And so they took the principal's message each day and interpreted it each in their own way. And we've been sharing them with the school community in our morning announcements. The other app that we may look at, and you can let me know in the chat if you have access to an iPhone or an iPad or even a MacBook. My go-to after BrushNinja has been really to use Keynote, just because there's so many pieces with our animations, and we do have that opportunity to export as a GIF. So being able to bring in or visualize, Lee, like you mentioned, for the math concepts, being able to visualize vocabulary, it's just another tool that I've really depended on. So if you do have access to a device that has Keynote, let me know in the chat. It will just mean I'll spend more or less time on BrushNinja. But right now, we're all going to tap into BrushNinja. So if you have another device handy, or if you want to split the screen, or however you want to tackle it, BrushNinja is really just go brush.ninja, but we'll put the link in the chat just if it makes it easier for folks as well. So in the chat, if you can, so great point, Susan. So for me, because we have Chromebooks, especially when we were working online, we did BrushNinja because BrushNinja is web-based, so they can use anything. Chromebooks is a great option. So with the Chromebooks, BrushNinja was a great tool to be able to tap into. So a couple of folks have Keynote. So what we'll do is we'll spend a good chunk of our time on BrushNinja. And then for those that want to continue with BrushNinja and just keep creating, you can tune me out. And for those that want to take a look at Keynote, we'll make 2 GIFs tonight in the next half an hour. No pressure, no pressure. We'll see how that works out. Has anybody used BrushNinja before? I know Cyril has. Yeah, so Keynote's only for Apple items. When we end today, I'm going to share a Wakelet, and in the Wakelet we have resources for BrushNinja, which is why we always start with BrushNinja. It's just a tool that, again, this is why it's one of my favorite tools to use with kids. I don't need to worry about apps or anything. We just go to the website, no login required. So I don't need to worry about that element of things. We know security-wise, privacy-wise, there's so many pieces when kids have to log in. So we literally can just go to the website and start creating. So that's why BrushNinja is always my first one and my go-to. That's where we're going to start today. But for those that do have Apple devices, if you have iPads in your school or just you have your iPhone and you're hoping to create some GIF illustrations to bring into your work, we'll just show you a couple tips and tricks. So a big chunk of time we'll be creating in BrushNinja. And then for those that want it, we'll show you a couple pieces in Keynote as well. Awesome sauce. So I don't see anybody having used BrushNinja before. Again, you can use the reactions if you like. Just give us a little thumbs up, maybe, if you've used it. So we'll take it step by step then, since we don't have a ton of folks that have created with BrushNinja. So just let me know in the chat, or again, give me with the reactions. You have those little reactions there. You can give us a thumbs up. But yeah, if you're new to it all, that's awesome, Denise. No worries. We got a bunch of folks that are new to it all. Awesome, fantastic. To Susan's point, I have created with GIPHY. Those, I'm really, really, really loving the GIPHY capture. So GIPHY is kind of the go-to GIF database. The one warning I would give you, especially for those of us in K-8, I wouldn't really have kids searching GIPHY by themselves, because like any social media platform, you get many different pieces that pop up. You can pull from GIPHY and embed it though into your Google Slides or into your presentation tools. So it's a great database for adults to tap into. Often what I'll do is I'll bring in some examples and put them into a Wakelet if I'm showing the kids a collection of GIFs that I want them to explore. So I have used the GIPHY creator tool that's in the app, web-based and on my phone. For me, I just have the shortcut on my iPhone. So I use shortcuts because I can just pick my pictures and it creates a GIF that I can save to my camera roll. But I do love the app on the Mac. So the coolers and the scratch I did with their GIPHY capture app for desktop. So I can just pull it up whenever I'm on my computer and just take 13 seconds of my screen and turn it into a GIF, which is just amazing. I can't believe I didn't find it till this year. I was super disappointed about that. Okay, awesome. So if we're good to go, we'll give you a little tour of BrushNinja and then we'll start creating. Now, for me today, we're adults and I know we could do something super serious, but I feel like we've all had a pretty stressful year. Maybe I'm just speaking, I feel the last couple of years have been a little stressful. So we just want to kind of think of something that helps you feel calm, helps you reset. I feel like that will be a great topic for us today as we're creating and exploring. So when I'm in BrushNinja, like I said, it's web-based, no login required. It will bring your last project up. So if you're sharing devices, like sharing the iPads, you may just have to hit new so you can create a new canvas. They just added some other options. I just stick to the square, the traditional square, because it's helpful. Now, below our new option, I'm just going to get my pointer up here. There we go. We can kind of see our toolbar. So these are our objects we can add to our GIF. And then alongside, we also see there's more options. So if I switch that over to my shapes, I'm going to see now I have different shapes I can pull from. If I go to my lines, if I go to text, and if I choose my arrow, I can select and change things up. Now, when I start with kids, we usually always just start with the drawing tools, the shapes and the pencil, and then layer in the text. Some of the examples you saw, we also were able to pull in a picture in the background. So if you see there on the bottom of my screen, I'm just in portrait mode, so it puts the tools on the bottom. I can see my color options, my color, my line color, my fill color. I can get really fancy and change that up. Again, I don't usually show that to kids, let them explore that. And then I kind of have my control panel down here. So I can change my speed, change the background picture, play, and we'll come back to those. You have a couple other pieces of copying and pasting, but this one's going to be really important, the little onion skin. So if you're, some of you may be really great artists that want to tap into some more pieces, the onion skin will just show you where things were in your last round, which would be probably familiar to folks that have animated before. Okay, so again, I said I'm going to start. My picture today is my animation is going to be of something that brings me calm. So I think I'm going to do some water and a sun. I think I'm going to have a sun rising and just say, breathe. Yes. And Michael, this was like last year, this was like the godsend. It's a tool I keep going back to, just a great one to have in your back pocket as we're creating. So I'm going to make my pen the largest it is. I'm going to go to blue. I'm just going to make a nice, cool blue background sky. Awesome. And I need to add my sun in. So I'm going to go to my shapes and get a circle. We'll make sure that sun is yellow, and I'm going to draw it. And it took me a very long time to realize that I didn't draw my circle in the right spot. So I can go to my arrow, my select tool, and just move it where I want it to be. And I selected the wrong thing. There we go. I'm going to keep it right there. Okay. Now I want to add some more water. So I'm going to use my pen tool here. I can make it a little smaller and create my first set of waves. And I didn't change the colors. Thank goodness for an undo button. And I don't know why I'm drawing with my finger when I have an Apple Pencil, but that's okay. Forgot to bring it out. And again, I can layer. What's cool here, if you just want to notice that you can rotate or manipulate any of these objects. So any of your drawings become objects that we can manipulate as we go along. It's kind of cool too to have that chance to talk to kids about kind of setting up their scene, what that animation is going to look like. You could also look at exploring them storyboarding out their animation if you want to get into some of those pieces, literacy pieces. And we're doing something much more detailed. If I was doing this just for a message, I would probably be jumping straight into writing. So I'm going to have my sunset, and then I'm going to have it say breathe before the sun goes all the way down. Or maybe I'll have it, I'm trying to think now. Should I do sunrise, sunset? Is there a preference in the group? You're probably all actively drawing and I'm stopping you from drawing, which is terrible. Okay, so great question. So how did I get the circle? So to get the circle, I went to my shapes. Let me just get my pointer here. So I went to my shapes, and when you click your shapes, you'll have a selection. So by default, it goes to the square, but you should be able to see more options. They may show up in different spots based on where the orientation of your device or what browser you're joining from. But look for a collection of options. Let us know if you find them, Julia. The other little piece that was not learning I did till this year, it will work on any browser, but if you are on an iPad and students are in the habit of going to Chrome, it's just not something I would often do, and I didn't think of it. With Chrome on the iPad, it doesn't understand and can't go to your camera, and your photos. So glitches out on you a little bit. Okay. So I think I'm going to do a sunrise, and then I'm going to put breathe right inside my sun. So I'm going to take my select tool, and I'm going to now put this further down so I can make my sunrise. So I have my scene. I'm just going to move my sun up a little bit each time, and then I'm going to write breathe one letter at a time so that it pops up on the screen. So on the bottom here, I can see I have this first frame of my animation, and I can duplicate, and I can use my select tool again and just move it up a little bit. And then it's just repeating that over and over again till I get exactly what I want. And I know some science folks in the group would say like the sun should be changing its size, but I'm letting that go. It's a surreal world. And then I have to kind of decide, do I want breathe to be, yeah, sure, let me undo and I'll do that again. Let's see where I am. Okay. So if you want, you can, anytime you need to, you can click on a scene and copy it. It's those 2 pages down underneath a frame, or you can delete a frame. So I select my frame, I duplicate it, and then my story just needs me to raise, I'm using the select tool up in the top corner, and I'm able to raise my sun. And this is where that onion skin is handy, because I can see where my sun was the last time, and I can move it just a little bit.
How did you select the onion skinning?
Up at the top here, that I guess is supposed to be an onion.
Ah, got it.
Doesn't quite look like an onion. It took me a very long time to understand that what that symbol was for. And I find because I'm just moving the scene, it's usually pretty solid. It's not quite as crazy as if you're doing stop motion. Now, if I write my whole word right now, it would all be on this screen at once. I really want, I could go with that. I could write the whole word and just let it kind of zoom out to really emphasize it, or I could write one letter at a time. Lee, yeah, I think you can do your own straight lines. But unfortunately, I don't know if, I think they're kind of just the basic shapes, which is a problem. BrushNinja's on social media if you ever want to give them a quick little message and see if they'll add it in. They may. It's always updating, which is amazing. So I'm going to push the play button just so we can see the handiwork so far. Let's see our sun rising. That looks awesome. A little funky there. I'm going to duplicate. Anytime you want to pause in your animation, you want to take at least 3 frames just so it gives you that second. And then I'm going to start going back to my pen and using my black. And I'm just going to say, ooh, way too big. Let's get a smaller pen. Oh, I want that to be nothing. There we go. And we'll duplicate.
Now, for those of us that aren't neat printers, we can use the text tool, correct?
Yes, for sure. Oh. Let me just go back and I'll show you the text tool. So for folks that want to use the text tool, it is a little funky because you think you would just go add the T and then type in your text. You're actually going to add your text to the page here that has a pencil, and you would put in your word that you want to add and say use, and then I can decide my text or my font. It's actually not on your page yet. You actually have to tap to put it into your creation. And then there we go. And I can just pick where I want it to be. Did I spell it right? No. Why did I put an E at the end? let's go with, did I spell it right?
Yeah, that's
I'm
correct.
having,
Yeah,
okay.
otherwise it would be breath.
Julia's helping me out. I had a moment of panic there.
We need some teachers to answer that question quick.
You know, when you have those moments where you're like, oh my goodness. Peter and I were talking yesterday about, I grew up in Europe as a kid, and there's moments where I panic. I think that you just all witnessed my panic with spelling. Again, I want that to be on the screen for a little while, so I'm going to duplicate it. And then we can kind of see that and check that out. 10, 15 minutes and we have a GIF. Okay, couple questions popping up in the chat. You can keep drawing, keep bringing those questions. We love to hear them. I'm just gonna do another scene here so I can see. So Elizabeth, I can't access the paint bucket when I'm in brush. Okay, so are you in portrait too, like I am right now, Elizabeth? So yeah, so no worries, Chris. Let's do it again. No worries. That's why we're playing. We're having fun. We're going to just keep creating and exploring. Okay. So I'm going to draw. I'm going to do, we'll delete these couple pages and Chris will show you how to move it again. And Elizabeth will come back to the paintbrush. So if you're drawing here, if I just do a cool little, we're just going to do a, I'm just going to put this down. I'll just do a quick little heart there. So if I go down below, I find when I go in landscape mode, it will come on the side. So if that's easier for you, you can then see your pen tool there, but it may be hiding underneath when you're in the brush. And again, if your brush, your pen should by default go to just your pen color. The paint bucket is more when you want to create a shape that fills in as you're designing. Let me know if that helped Elizabeth or not.
Yeah, we have a question about a recording. Yes, a recording will be sent out to you.
Yeah. The other thing that you'll see in the Wakelet is last year when we were first doing this, I made a little video for our students. So we have like a little 5-minute refresher too, if you want to share that with kids or if you want to watch that as well. Okay, let's go back to our shape. And I'm going to just do my circle here. Now to move your circle, we would use the select tool. So this guy here, the little mouse pointer. And then I can move it where I want it to move, where I want it to be. And then as I duplicate, remember that little 2-pager on the bottom, I can duplicate and then I can select it again and move it where I want it to go.
So when you duplicate it, automatically selects the next slide, correct? You don't have to manually select it.
No. So when I duplicate, see how my frame kind of goes automatically to that next one.
Yeah.
All right, friends, I see a couple questions there about the bottom. Let me just go through it again. So for those that just want a quick review, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I think you may have answered that question already because that's the icon with the 2 pages to duplicate.
Yeah, so that's to duplicate. So I'm just gonna, I have an idea if that's okay. So I'm just gonna quickly draw some rays on my sun and we'll just give it another little animation here. So I have my object. I had created my scene that I want to animate. So I'm going to duplicate and then I'm going to use my select tool and I can make that bigger or smaller, and I didn't group them. Go figure. That was a bad example. Happens to us all. And I'm moving things around now. How about I do a rainbow on here?
So I noticed there's a ×1.
Yeah.
over top of each page. So I assume you could change that. So if you want to insert, you can insert 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've never done, but
Yeah.
doesn't I'm finding with BrushNinja, there's always little pieces that I end up
Yeah.
learning more about.
So
Okay.
like if you wanted to add the rays one at a time, for instance, you could duplicate it like times 6 or whatever correct number, 8, all at once. No, I guess you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't want to do it that way.
No, because
No.
that's the thing with the drawing
Right.
animation. You want it to add kind of one at a time,
Yeah.
or start with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, to Annabelle's piece, if I wanted to now put those rays in, I'm just going to draw, duplicate. I'm going to draw another ray and duplicate. And what you're doing is you're really just figuring out what you want to come to life with your creation, right? Duplicate. So again, I'm going to the bottom of the screen there where my timeline is, my storyboard. Somebody technical probably has a better word for it. You would think by now I would have them. And I made these rays way too small, Peter. What was I thinking? But
They
that's
look good
okay.
here.
This is going to take me a while. So again, I draw, I add or change what I want to manipulate, and then I pull it out. This is why the messages is a great way to start, because kids are kind of writing one word out, or they're adding a piece to their message just to kind of learn how the tools work. But I find kids always, even if I introduce it to them that way, they always find new things to do. Like the eye just kind of really was, it was one of the ones that caught me off guard as we were creating, because I hadn't shown them anything similar. And that kind of was just their interpretation. And then when you see the inspiration from my friend, she's an art teacher. So she had her kids were doing self-portraits, and it's just crazy. I never would have even thought to do that.
Can you grab a series of pages or slides and duplicate them as a block?
Great
So
question.
for instance, if you
I
had
can
the
try right
rays,
after.
if you had the rays, wrap all the way around like you're doing,
Yep.
and then grab that set, duplicate it so it wraps around a second time.
And then just shift them.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it would just add them at the end automatically.
And this is why for some pieces I end up going back to Keynote, right? Because this really is one of those quick tools that we go to kind of explore. Let's see what that looks like. Let's push our play button. Yeah. It's a good pause moment for me to breathe. I should have made the sun come back down, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Just checking in, friends, to see how you're doing. How's your designs coming? Can you see this tool working in your program, in your classroom, in your practice?
So I noticed there's a group button. So you could group all the rays together with the word and have all of that go down together, correct?
Yep.
If you want to do a sunset?
Yes.
Is there an easy way to select them all?
It doesn't look like it.
Like, so you can't like marquee around them?
Let's try. No, because it clicks my background.
Right, yeah. So you'd have to manually click on each one.
It's not letting me select more than one. I'm using my Apple, but that could be because I'm on my iPad. Great question. If somebody figures it out, let us know.
Here's a question I was thinking of. So when they first came out with GIFs, it's going to be so hard for me to say that because I've been saying 25 or 30 years. When they first came out, they came out because they were transparent. There was a need for transparent graphics on the internet, on web pages. When they came out with animated GIFs, are they or can they be transparent?
Yep.
Okay.
I think even in when we export our GIF, So we can remove the background, select a color, use our own image. And in Keynote, I can actually export my GIF as transparent. So we had kids using AR to put a layer on top of, so we wanted to have an animated layer on top of a physical piece of art. So in that setting, we were able to make it a transparent GIF, and then the GIF just came to life and lived on this physical art piece that they had created.
So this could be used to make like an animated logo to superimpose on a video.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
Now the other cool thing, so unfortunately I'm on my iPad. So that's a little secret behind the scenes, is I've been designing, we've been presenting from my device today. So I won't be able to select them all, but it looks like there's some really cool, quick, people have found keyboard shortcuts, which is awesome.
I assume those are on a traditional computer, right? Not on a
tablet. Which is okay. Again, we know for next time. This is also where, to your point, Peter, one of the cool things is I can use the GIF as an opening point, but when I save and export this animation, I can actually export it as a video format too. So if I'm posting it to my Instagram feed, we know our Instagram posts don't recognize GIFs. So I could take that concept and export it as a video. So I love that flexibility too if it's not quite working. Okay, again with the text, if you want to add your text to a frame, so when you go to the text and you've edited the text, the text will be floating. I think you can kind of see my breathe is floating there. It won't actually add to the page till I tap on my page. So you have to tap to get it to add to your page at the moment. It kind of floats. It's the one thing I would change about the app. I don't love how text works, which is probably why I go to spell all the time or write it out myself.
I noticed you chose Comic Sans, but that's not Comic Sans.
I think I have, yeah, that's weird. I don't know why.
Maybe because it's been outlawed.
That's it. I don't usually go for Comic Sans. That's my least favorite font. So friends, just doing a quick check-in. How are we feeling? Do you want me to show you how to export? Do you need a couple more minutes to create? I don't want to. All right, I got a thumbs up in the reactions. Cool. Okay. So right now I have my creation. It's only on this website though, so that's not very helpful for me as I go along. So yeah, to Shweta's point, just a little note if you go down to, let me just use my pointer again. If I come down here to my little speedometer, I guess you could say, you get your frame rate. They give us this awesome little 6 frames per second. The smaller your frame rate, the slower your animation, the higher, the faster. So you can manipulate that, especially when you're doing words one at a time, you kind of want to fine tune that. Up on the top though, we're going to go back to where we saw new, because we have save and export. Save is deceiving because you think you're saving it, but it just saves the project. Again, you're not, you don't have any accounts, so it will download that project so that you can open it up again. Usually I tend to just try to get kids to do it in one sitting so we can go straight to export. And with export, it will give me the chance to name my creation. So I'm going to call this Breathe. Can't believe I had that moment where I thought I spelled it wrong. And then I can decide to export. Again, this is where I could choose to export it as an image, as a comic, and I have some other options. I'm going to do an animated GIF. And once I choose that option, it's going to tell me to download the GIF or convert it to a video. So I can say download and download. On a computer, if you're on a Chromebook right now, it will just pop up on the bottom and go into your files. If you're on a MacBook, same thing, or a PC. Since I'm on the iPad, I'm going to go to my little downloads up here on my Safari, and I can see there's my file. So it will play it back for me. Look how awesome. And then I can use that share button to put it into my images, and then airdrop it, drop it into Jamboard, put it into my Google Classroom, wherever I want to take that image and share it. So for us, Jamboard's been a big way for us to kind of collect the different GIFs that kids have been creating. So again, just to quickly show you again, I'm going to the top toolbar, I click on export, and then I can export as animated GIF. And once it does its processing, I can choose the GIF or the video format and download. And just remember, if you are on an iPhone or an iPad, you'll get that little download folder that you're going to access to be able to put it to your pictures. Questions, comments? How do we feel? Oh, and Shweta, I just realized what you're saying. So this can elongates the time for my frame. So I don't think it does what we were talking about, Peter.
Right. Got it.
So it really, thanks for figuring that out. Thanks for playing. Okay, so the
internally it's duplicating that slide. Right. So it's actually
kind of just doing the math.
The same slide twice or 3 times or whatever. Yeah.
So, it happens for sure. People slow it down for sure. Just go back into the speedometer and you can change it up. As long as you're still on the page, you can export as many times you like. To the panes, how would the video format look different? It doesn't look different. All that would look different is in your photo or your camera roll. So when I go to share, when I go to export as animated GIF, so it's really just where you're trying to share it. If you're creating this, the kids did, oh, there you go, go figure. Safari doesn't understand it. So the video format would just be the ending that I get on that file type. So for me, GIFs always work for me because I don't tend to share them. Like the only limitation I can see really is an Instagram feed. So if you were trying to do it on an Instagram feed, you would, it doesn't let you put a GIF on your stream. But anywhere else, you can drop a GIF because it's an image file. So that's one of the bonuses is I can put it into a slide deck or a Jamboard. I can drop it into my Google Classroom, so many places.
But if you want it to be transparent, it has to be a GIF. If you export it to video, it won't be transparent. So it'll give you some background color.
Yeah. So Susan, there isn't a way to insert a picture that isn't your background. So that is one limitation, Susan, to BrushNinja. Again, there's always those toss-ups, right? There's always that piece of it's a great web-based tool, but it does come with some limitations. So that's why for myself, I'll go to Keynote or something else when I'm really wanting to play a lot with shapes or kind of explore those different features.
So the paste option won't work?
We can try. I'm just, let's see, there's Aurelia Durant. Let's copy. Yeah, I don't get a paste option.
The paste, it was at the top, wasn't it? Was it the little clipboard?
We can try again. 1 second. Any other questions we have as our time is flying away? I'm in the wrong app. Helps there.
Yeah, Angela, you can try that Control V if you're on a computer, but you can't do that on the tablet.
Yeah, it could just be a limitation like we had with the Select All that it just, my Safari browser on the iPad doesn't recognize it. So I haven't used it for that, Susan, but again, folks have been finding so many different pieces. Awesome, Angela. I'm glad you think the kids are going to like it. And we've used this we used it this year. One of the ways we got started with some of our younger friends is just doing an exploration for Dot Day. So we used Peter Reynolds' The Story of the Dot. You could use the line or not a box. and just letting them kind of keep adding to their dots, whether it was lots of dots or a growing dot. So it was a really cool, quick way for them to kind of have that experience. And they, of course, like always, kind of blew my mind with what they created. So I know some friends have Keynote. So I think if it's okay with everyone, loving it. Yay! I'm glad they're liking stop motion. We did that with kids today too. And this does have that stop motion feel, right? We're doing that animation. So if you've done physical stop motion with kids, this is just such an easy, it's so much easier to explain that concept of animation and those small movements after you've had that physical experience, which is so awesome. Okay, just looking at the time, I do want to take some time for us to brainstorm ideas. We want to show you the Wakelet. So what I'll do is I'm just going to quickly show you Keynote, but know that in the Wakelet, we have some video clips that go over it. We also, in the Wakelet, have that little how-to for kids with BrushNinja if you want. It is from a past iteration, but I think for the most part, it still works. And some other tools as well if you want to tap into that. So let me just go into Keynote, and I'm just going to talk through creating one. I know you may not have as much time to play with this one, or you may just want to watch, and that's okay too. We can always play this back later or check in. So I do go to Keynote, but you can tap into Google Slides. I don't know if PowerPoint lets you export as GIFs. Google Slides has some hacks. It's a little harder to just be able to jump in and design. I know PowerPoint and Keynote and some of those, like we said, Photoshop just give us some more options. So I'm just going to go to my presentations. I love Keynote for designing. So I just recently did a water walk, and it was all designed in Keynote. I think a lot of times we think of these tools as presentation tools or PowerPoint tools, but they're so great to have shapes and objects we can kind of bring together. So yeah, all of that, all created in this guy here. So if I go to my presentations, I'm going to use the plus sign, and I am going to choose a theme. I'm just going basic because it really doesn't matter. I'm going to be deleting what's on the screen anyways. And so I'm going to take my friend here and just delete because I'm going to add my objects as I'm designing. I also don't like this page setup. So in my 3 dots up in the top corner, I am going to change my document setup, and I can change that slide size. So I can kind of fit it to where I'm going to be sharing. So I'm loving my piece right now. I'm going to bring in a picture. We'll just go to my favorites, and hopefully we can find one real quick that we can add to. Okay, we're going to take this guy here. Okay, I'm just going to edit that picture so it fits just the way I want it to. Okay, that looks kind of cool. And I think I'm just going to do a quick little bee that's going to go from flower to flower, or we'll just do a little butterfly. So I'm going to use my drawing tools. So on the iPad, I can go into the plus sign and get my drawing there. We'll just make this a little orange. Maybe we'll make it pink so it stands out a bit more. This is not going to be my best work, but we're going to go with it.
Is this going to be using the, oh no, it's not. I was going to ask if it used the follow the line method that you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that for you. Okay, so again, we're gonna keep this pretty basic because we're short on time, but I'm gonna just make my body there. I'll just do our little antennae and maybe some legs. Cool. So I have my object. I now want my butterfly to go from to flip from one flower to the next. And so I'm going to animate. Now, there's lots of ways that we can animate objects. And this is kind of where, when we get into some of these fancier design tools, we have more options. So I'm going to select my, get out of my drawing. There we go. And now that I have an object, I can tap on it and I'll get the animate option. So if I want it to build in, if I want it to come in and appear, I could use a build in animation. I can do a build out if I want it to disappear, but I actually want mine to move. So it's adding an action. And this is where I can create a path. And literally what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the path I want it to take. As it goes through my animation. So I can say done. I'm kind of happy with that. It's a little too fast. So I'm going to take that duration. Sorry, I'll show you again. I tapped on the animation type on the bottom so I can get the control panel. And so I can slow that down to be more 5 seconds, 6 seconds maybe. I can choose to align it to the path or make little tweaks. So Peter, when we were talking about the car actually facing in the direction, that came into play there. I don't want to wait for the tap. I'm going to do this right after the transition, and I'm just going to check out that animation. This is a very psychedelic, funky butterfly, but we'll go with it. If I wanted to be really finicky, I could come in and I could rotate and make sure that my my butterfly rotates around the other way when it gets to this point, but we'll delete that animation. The cool part, any animation, any kind of clip that you can make, when we go to the 3 dots and I go to export, you're going to see I have all these options to take this slide, this presentation, and export it. So I could export it as a movie, but I'm actually going to just export it as an animated GIF. Now, if you're sharing these on Twitter, or on social media platforms, I find medium, it doesn't understand the large, I have to do the medium. And the other thing is if you have several frames, like if you're doing words and you're flipping between frames, make sure you have the whole range of pages selected. It defaults to just choose your first frame. I'm going to say export. Oh, I didn't even change the name of it. And then I'm going to share and save as an image. So now when I go to Twitter, or if I'm on my Jamboard or wherever you would like to share, and I go to tweet, and I go to my camera roll, I'm going to see that, and I don't know why it didn't do it. Maybe it's too short. I'm going to see my GIFs there collected, chosen, and I can bring them on in. Did it just not process yet? Let's see. I'll have to play with that and why it didn't like me yet. Maybe I forgot animated GIF, go large, export. Questions, comments? Always good when tech doesn't cooperate while you're in front of people. All right. It doesn't like me. I'm going to have to do it small. Twitter, always getting in the way. All right.
Maybe try creating or clicking on share right away. See where it says share?
Going straight to
Yeah, as soon as you exported, there was a blue share button.
Yeah. It doesn't. I found that usually I have to go to my camera roll, but maybe today it's.
Yeah, that should load it automatically. There we go.
But see, it doesn't animate it. We can try it. So looking at the time, I need to stop playing and thinking out loud in front of all of you. And we're going to come back to our slide deck just to consolidate a bit. We had planned on using a Jamboard, but just looking at the time, maybe I'll put the link because maybe some of you just feel more comfortable to put your ideas into the Jamboard. Maybe you just want to drop them in the chat, and that's okay as well. I love the Giftastic. That's awesome. So let me just put the Jamboard link here. So just thinking about just a few minutes just to kind of think about what are some of the ways you think you could use a GIF in the next little while. And while you're thinking about that, oh, love that, to express how they're feeling. Let's just take a few seconds. I won't try to rush us. Just know we're all very busy and I don't want to hold anybody back, but we'll pull the Jamboard up as we're exploring. And we can add to express how they're feeling. Have students animate new French expressions. Love that. Even an emoji to match that vocabulary or different pieces. Yeah, feel free to drop your GIFs in too. Go for it. Animated maps. Yesterday, Peter and I were talking about that, being able to even trace routes, or some of our kids have been exploring communities in Canada, past and present, and even just talking about their experiences, being able to do some of those quick points to show understanding in a novel study. Think about if they created a series of GIFs even from that character's point of view. Like, I know that's been a really trendy, real topic on Instagram of doing that point of view. Yes. So Elizabeth, for those of you that have an iPhone, you would do that through shortcuts. So shortcuts can take a video, it can take bursts. So if you had a kid jump and you just hold your finger on on the shutter on the iPhone, you can turn that into a GIF. You can take a collection of pictures. You can't, any of those pieces, it kind of does it for you. So sometimes if you want more control, like the reset GIF that we had at the beginning, I did that in Keynote because I wanted to control the timing better. But just to show you here, this one here, we were doing a photo scavenger hunt, a rainbow photo scavenger hunt. So I did this just from shortcuts. So shortcuts is just an app. If you're an Apple user, which some of us are, again, for those that don't, GIPHY is a great tool. And if you just put GIF in your app store, you're going to find tons of different options. Yeah, so Lee, I found I had to add the GIFs, like I had to upload it to the Jamboard to get it to animate.
Yeah, I noticed in Twitter it wasn't animated. You were right.
Yeah, it's weird. I'll have to play with that a bit. I'm so sorry. Usually if I do it medium, it works fine, but maybe I did something funky today. So many great ideas. Storyboarding, love it. Awesome. So friends, while you're doing this, I just want to highlight some of the different resources that we've curated together for you in the Wakelet, and you can keep adding to the Jamboard. This is in our collection. So after today, if you want to come on back and check it out. But even if we're looking at math concepts, right, getting them to explain a math concept, or getting them, a lot of times in the past, we would use explain everything or show me for them to explain their thinking. But even if they were trying to take a concept and teach it to another kid using a GIF, just think about the amount of consolidation they have to do as they're transferring their knowledge. Just think it's so, and there you go. Scientific concepts is coming up there, which is awesome. If you see an idea from somebody else that you really like, you can drag those little like heart emojis over. And I love that reaching for the stars GIF. That's amazing. Okay, let me head over to the our Wakelet. I'm just going to put the link in the chat to make it a bit easier. We used just that little bit.ly there, bit.ly/OTF GIFs. But I'll put the whole Wakelet just in case you're having any issues. Hopefully, no. And then we'll show you just what's on the page before we head out for tonight. I'm sorry, Peter. I feel like we're cutting it close, and you probably have some closing words. Okay. So on the bit.ly, you're going to see a couple things. Like we said, we have we have a little video clip that's a quicker summary. So if you want to share with kids, if you just want to remember what a GIF is, we have that there, or the BrushNinja link. And then there's the video I made for our students of just how to draw a GIF, just the basics. We did a lot more, but just if you want to do a quick review or you want to share something with your kids to get started. This is Debbie's friend, her GIF that she made about an eye. And then below that, you can see some of the animating in Keynote. So there's just a couple posts I've made over time that will let you kind of learn more about animating. There's so many layers in Keynote that you can tap into. But then there's other tools. So if you're just looking for something quick online for them to tell you how they felt that day, and then I was like, actually just videotapes, like it does a camera. So you can do an action for 3 seconds and it turns it into a web-based GIF that you can share. There's a quick video there on how to make GIFs from your photos or videos on iPhone with shortcuts. So just like we were saying, if you want to take the video you have and turn it into a GIF. GIPHY, like we were saying, has the creator tool, that GIPHY capture for the desktop. And then that last one is just a Chrome extension, because I know a lot of us don't necessarily have access to a Mac and some of those pieces. And then, yeah, there's a little video clip just in case you wanted to listen a bit more about the creator and how he came up with the idea. So that was really our hope for tonight, was a chance to play, to explore, to think of ideas. So hopefully we met that. And we're still here if you have questions or comments. Do you need me to switch? Do we need to switch screens at all?
I can take over.
Okay.
Okay, and then I need this desktop. Just bear with me while I set it up. Okay, so I will, where's the chat window? I'm going to drop a link in for the evaluation form. It's always nice to get this taken care of right away, although it will be emailed out to you hopefully tomorrow. I want to thank everybody for coming, and especially thank Tina. This was amazing. When we talked last night, I got so excited about that animated map doing it in Keynote. And I've always resisted Keynote. I mean, I've been using Google Slides ever since it came out, practically. And I just resisted all the Apple products. I really did. But that one feature alone is enough to get me to go look at Keynote, because I love doing long distance trips, especially on my motorcycle. Nice. And I often publish maps of where I've been, right? And sometimes I'll even take a photograph of a paper map with my route highlighted, right? But like Google Maps doesn't have any nice tools for doing things like this. But now that I've seen that path tool, it'd be so easy to put a map in the background, right? And then create, maybe even like a photograph, I don't know, of my bike, and then have that animated on top of the map. I mean, for me, that one feature alone is worth the price of admission. It really is.
There is, you can also, there's like a green screen feature built into Keynote now too. So you literally can take a picture of your bike against the solid background, and then you can make it look like a cutout.
Yeah.
It's crazy what's possible. And I think, to what a lot of folks are saying in the chat, a lot of it's just playing and having the time to play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you were just playing today and you still don't feel comfortable and you just want to remember GIPHY as a tool, that's cool too. Yeah. It's always about that one step, isn't it?
Yeah. No, this was very good. Let me just check my notes, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. So there's the evaluation form. Yeah, there it is again, which I've already dropped in. And then lastly, I just want to remind everybody that this is the second of around 10 webinars that we have set up. The next one is Thursday night, Building Community Through Inquiry and Collaboration in the Secondary History and Civics Classroom. So we hope to see you, if not at that one, then at others. Any last questions? Well, thanks so much, everyone, for being here. And thanks so much, Tina. That was incredible.
Thanks for having me.